What's up, guys? I'm Avery with the Legacy Group at eXp Realty, and just like you, I was wondering what it would be like to move to southeastern North Carolina. But when I did, I had no help with regard to what the neighborhoods were like, what the suburbs were like, what Wilmington or Jacksonville had to offer, and any of that stuff. So in this video, we're going over the top 10 tips that I have for relocation buyers moving to southeastern North Carolina. Now, before I get started, guys, I am a licensed realtor in the state of North Carolina. And so as much as I love making these videos for you guys about all things southeastern North Carolina, I would love even more to help you with the real estate needs. So the phone number and email address popping up on the screen. I'm the guy that responds to all the calls, texts, and emails, and I would love to chat and see how I can best help. And so the first tip that I have for you guys is to start planning early. I absolutely love it when people call me about a year to 2 years in advance, because that means that they are taking this move seriously. There is nothing worse than when somebody calls me all willy-nilly and says, hey, oh, by the way, I'm looking at moving to southeastern North Carolina and I don't know a darn thing about it. So if you're planning ahead of time, I want you to come take an exploratory visit. I call it a business trip. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna schedule some time with me. We're gonna chat, we're gonna talk about neighborhoods. We're gonna talk about the city's quadrants. And we're gonna talk about, the pertinent information to Wilmington and surrounding areas of southeastern North Carolina. And that's gonna help you get a lay of the land and just a better understanding of the city, where you wanna live, where grocery stores are, so on and so forth. So tip number one is start planning early, because it helps you determine whether or not Wilmington is actually right for you, but also where in Wilmington you can actually see yourself living.
And before we move into tip number two, my name is Anthony. I am actually Avery's brother and business partner here in North Carolina. And just like you, I have recently moved to the Wilmington region, and the process has been great. But one thing that you need to make sure that you do is figure out what type of neighborhood you're gonna wanna live in. There's so many different flavors and vibes and cultures that you're gonna kind of be blown away. And one thing that really surprised me about the southeastern North Carolina region is that a lot of people that move here, they think that they want all this space, and they're coming from an area where maybe they have acres upon acres, and that's what living is for them. But then they get here and they see some of these neighborhoods and they're just blown away by the amenities and the feel. And some neighborhoods have a beachy feel, some neighborhoods have a boating type culture. So there's so many different things and so many different amenities that it's so important to make sure you understand what you like and what you need in your life, and what kind of things your family cares about, and what your lifestyle is going to be like, that you choose the right neighborhood. And you can really only do that by setting up the exploratory call and scheduling your business trip to come down to the southeastern North Carolina region and let us show you around, let us show you different neighborhoods, and that way you can see exactly what you care about and what you don't. Because once you get in some of these neighborhoods, you might figure out you don't care about certain things, or you might figure out vice versa, you really care about certain things. So make sure you set up that call and let's help you figure out the right neighborhoods.
And moving on to the next tip is to familiarize yourself with the real estate market, specifically here in southeastern North Carolina. Guys, it is vastly different than a lot of other states. For example, inspection periods here in southeastern North Carolina kind of blow away a lot of people, specifically from the Northeast, but most other states. A lot of other states, you write an offer on a house, you perform your inspections, put down a deposit, and then you move on to the closing process. Not here in North Carolina. So we have what's called a due diligence period. You have to put non-refundable money down in the form of a due diligence fee in order to perform those inspections, make sure that your mortgage is good to go, that kind of thing. And then you can clear the due diligence process and move on to closing. But that non-refundable fee is a big thing that a lot of people don't anticipate, and quite frankly get really irritated about when you're moving from another state where maybe that's not traditional. Now with that, we're also dealing with some different markets. Right now we're in a balanced market, and it is late October of 2025. moving into November. We're in a balanced market, meaning that, you know, home prices are staying pretty steady. If it's a realistically priced home and it's a well-priced home, we're kind of seeing it going at asking price. However, if it's a little too high, yeah, we can get concessions, we can get prices down. But earlier this year, we're in a slightly different market where you couldn't negotiate nearly as many concessions or price drops. So it's important that you call early. You know, going back to tip number 1 of your early preparation, it's important that you call us to determine what kind of market we're in, to understand the nuance behind southeastern North Carolina real estate. And then also, you know, here on the coast, we have flood insurance, we have wind and hail insurance that could tip you over the scale in affordability. So it's important to understand all of that prior to making offers on houses, prior to even looking at houses. You want to understand the process, and being relocation experts, Anthony and I can help guide you through that process because we've done it ourselves. We've helped countless people do it every single week, and we understand that California is different from Texas, is different from New York and New Jersey and Colorado, and so on and so forth. So before you come here and start looking at houses, you want to understand the process so that you're not shell-shocked. Give us a call and we'll explain all of it to you so that when you come and you're looking at homes, you already know what to expect. All right, and so tip number 4 is one that's probably not that popular amongst realtors, and it's to consider renting first. When you're moving to a new area, you really need to be sure that you're moving to the right place, the right neighborhood, the right area of town or city. And a lot of people that move here sort of on a whim or just with the right opportunity, you know, they might find the wrong area. They might, you know, make that bad decision on accident because they didn't really research very much. So a lot of people, they'll end up moving down here and just renting for 3, 6, 9, 12 months in order to ensure that they actually found the right area for them, their kids, and their families, right? You're looking at convenience to grocery stores, you're looking at conveniences to school and things like that. You want to make sure that it's the right spot. So although it's not popular amongst realtors, renting might be the best opportunity for you to determine whether or not a certain area in Wilmington is the right one. And that brings me into tip number 5, which is to figure out your budget. And a lot of times renting prior to, you know, buying can help you figure out your budget because you understand the nuance of the area. Now, budgeting here is a little bit different than a lot of other places because your mortgage is predicated based on the insurance, not taxes like other areas of the United States. You know, I'm from upstate New York, Anthony's from upstate New York, and the mortgage is more than 50% property taxes. Here, it's insurance. It's wind and hail specifically. So you have your homeowners, but you also have your wind and hail, and sometimes you have flood insurance. And if you ask me, you should 100% of the time have flood insurance. If you're not in a flood zone, it's dirt cheap. If you are in a flood zone, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. But regardless, it does tip the scale of what your affordability is. Now, we do have higher priced homes in this area, but we have very low taxes. I did the math one time, and for a $250,000 house in upstate New York, my taxes were about $4,500. Here, you can buy a house for about $650,000 and have the same amount of taxes. And honestly, sometimes, depending on the area, it can be even lower. But when you're looking at insurance costs, it's gonna depend on where you are, wind zones, flood zones, all of it. So you're gonna wanna figure that out prior to submitting offers on a house and prior to looking in certain neighborhoods, because why would you look at an immaculate neighborhood, one that's your favorite, and get your hopes up if you can't even afford it, right? Or why would you settle on a house if you can actually afford your dream home, right? All conversations to have, but that's why it's so important to figure out your budget. And if you give us a shout early on in the process, we can get you with a lender if you're taking a mortgage, or we can show you what's available for whatever you can pay cash for. And that way you can determine if this is actually gonna be the right location or if you're gonna wanna rent until a house pops up, whatever the case may be. One other thing that you're really, gonna be cognizant of, and a lot of people don't really think of, is the HOA fees here in North Carolina. So almost every neighborhood has some sort of HOA fee, and some have multiple HOA fees, like a COA and then HOA, depending on what sector of the neighborhood you're in. And so that HOA is added onto your mortgage cost. If you pay the house in cash, then yeah, you just have that, biannual HOA fee or annual HOA fee, however, the management company wants to work it. But that is a consideration with regard to your budget, and that's something that a lender is going to take into consideration as well.
And moving right along to tip number 6, and that's going to be doing your research on the school districts that you're going to be living in or living around. Now, something that's nuanced in this area compared to a lot of other areas in the United States is that you could be in one school district on one side of the street, and then right across the street, you could be in a totally different school district. And that being said, you're not going to be paying school taxes here in southeastern North Carolina. Whereas I know up in New York, part of your property taxes was a separate school tax. You don't get that here. You're just paying county tax and sometimes town tax. But understanding which school district you're going to be part of is going to impact your resale value sometimes greatly, because the better the school system is, the more attracted people, prospective buyers are going to be to your home. So when you're in New Hanover County schools are generally regarded as highly rated schools. Now, Pender County, your Topsail school district, is going to be one of the better schools, one of the top schools in Pender County. So that being said, when you're looking at neighborhoods and streets to live on, and it's important to understand exactly what school district you're actually going to be part of. And, moving a step further from that is homeschool programs. Are there any homeschool programs near you if you and your family are going to be homeschooling? Avery and I both homeschool our daughters, and there's tons of options here in southeast North Carolina that, we send our daughters to, and there's lots of different pods and things like that. But something to consider with that route is the cost that it might incur when you're homeschooling versus the public school system. And additionally, are there private schools around or are there not? So what do you want to do with your family? And like I said, even if you don't have kids in the school district, it's going to matter for your resale value in the future. And moving forward to tip number 7, and that is the weather. Sometimes the weather here in southeastern North Carolina can really shock people, surprisingly enough. Now, when you're talking about summer, the summer months can be brutal for a lot of people. I know there's some people who absolutely despise the heat. And here it gets hot and humid. Sometimes you're talking mid-90s and it's very humid, and it catches a lot of people off guard. And so they experience the summer here and they're like, yeah, I don't really want to do that anymore. But the rest of the seasons are very, very mild. Now, if you're doing your research, I would honestly, as much of a burden as it might be, I would say travel here, at least for a week or so during each season of the year. So that way you can experience what each season is like and then make a determination based on that, because that's really going to help your move if you are somebody who's impacted by the seasons. Sometimes it's allergies as well. But if you like having all 4 seasons and you like the snow, or you like at least a little bit of snow, southeastern North Carolina might not be for you. Occasionally we do get dustings of snow down here, but it's going to go away and dissipate very quickly. If you're somebody who really likes the fall time, like up in the Northeast, you get the fall colors and you get the falling leaves and everything, and it's a beautiful time of year. Most people love the fall time in the Northeast, and you get a lot of tourists going to the Northeast for the fall time specifically. Here, you don't get the leaves falling and changing colors like that. They will fall, but not nearly as much as the Northeast will. So if you're somebody who loves experiencing the fall weather and the fall colors and whatnot, southeastern North Carolina might not be for you. But the good news is that a majority of the year is going to be very, very mild. Right now, we're sitting in the end of October, while all of our friends up in the Northeast are freezing in 30-degree weather. We're sitting here in 65-degree weather. Sure, it's cloudy and rainy, but it's 65 degrees. We're in short sleeve shirts. It's very, very comfortable here at this time of year. But like I said, if you're somebody who really enjoys the snow, western North Carolina might be for you, but not southeastern North Carolina.
All right, now tip number 8 is a bit of housekeeping, and it's to figure out and learn about the utilities. going hand in hand with sort of the weather that we have here in southeastern North Carolina, the utilities play a huge role in your day-to-day lifestyle and affordability. Here in North Carolina, we predominantly have heat pumps. They're in the attic and they replace the furnaces for all of you from the Northeast or out west or whatever that have gas furnaces. Here we have electric heat pumps. So everything is ran off of electric and or propane. But propane is typically not used for your furnace or heat pump. It's typically used for maybe a fireplace or a stove, you know, that kind of thing. But it's very few and far between to have natural gas furnaces or natural gas service here in southeastern North Carolina. There's a couple areas, couple neighborhoods that, you know, the developer has deep pockets that brought natural gas into the community. Brunswick Forest, that many of you know out in Leland, is one of those communities. They do not, however, have natural gas furnaces. It's specifically for the stoves, so that you have a gas stove and the fireplaces. Now, you can have a Renai, right? And the Renai for a hot water heater is fantastic. And you'll see a lot of the new modern houses that are built will have a Renai or some kind of tankless hot water heater that does run off gas. But once again, few and far between. So when you're looking at utilities, you have a septic, which many of you know septics, but here it's prevalent and it's very, very common, more so than city sewer or municipal sewer. You have propane, right? Which everyone knows propane. You have electric, which is gonna be the majority, the bulk of your energy costs. And then every once in a while, you'll have some natural gas. Most of the time, you'll have municipal water. Most of the neighborhoods and areas in Wilmington have municipal water. Some older neighborhoods, older homes will still have a well in place, in which case I highly recommend that you invest in a good reverse osmosis system, because if you haven't heard of our water situation here on the coast, you should probably look it up. The Cape Fear River does not have the greatest water. That is our water source, our primary water source. And back in the day, a company out of Fayetteville dumped a bunch of chemicals into it. So do your research about the water, but we do have mitigation systems in place that I recommend you invest in to get some good drinking water. But all in all, very little natural gas, septic, electric, municipal water, that's about it. And then propane, if you're like myself and you want a gas stove without having natural gas service, propane comes in handy. But that is a big consideration if you're somebody that is expecting a furnace and the maintenance of a gas-powered furnace. You're not gonna have that here. You will have to go up into the attic to, most of the time, to check on your heat pump, which is, once again, electric. And sometimes it can be a pain in the butt depending on the access to your attic. But it's a bit of a shell shock for most people that come from maybe a house with a basement that has all of the utilities and stuff down there. All of ours are up in the attic. All right, and moving on, it's more of a fun type tip, and it's to get involved in your community. One of the biggest ways people that relocate from one area to another make friends and find things to do and actually enjoy their lives is to get involved in the community. Now, we live in an area where you can be as involved or uninvolved as you'd like. But most people that enjoy their life here and move here for a lifestyle change, they get involved in the community. So things like festivals and outings at the beach, or concerts, or like Halloween trick-or-treating and having block parties. My neighborhood has block parties all the time. It's so fun most of the time. If you're a bit of a homebody, like myself, believe it or not, you can just stay in. You don't have to do anything. Everybody's gonna leave you alone. But if you wanna go out and you wanna make friends, or if you're in business, you wanna get clients, and you have kids and your kids need to make friends and that kind of thing, going out and getting involved, whether it's a club, whether it's a festival or a concert, because there's live music pretty much at every restaurant you go to around here. It's a good thing to do, and you're gonna wanna do it if you want to make friends, if you want to enjoy your new lifestyle here in southeastern North Carolina. And quite frankly, it can feel kind of lonely when you move here by yourself, maybe without your family, maybe without friends, if you have nobody else here. And so the one way to mitigate that is to go out, meet people, have fun, be around your neighbors, and actually begin enjoying the lifestyle here in southeastern North Carolina. Because let's face it, most of you looking to move here, you're looking for a change of pace. You're looking for a change of lifestyle from wherever it is you're coming from. And the only way to actually do that is to get involved. And moving on to the next tip is just to simply enjoy the process. My team and I are here to help with every little thing that you can possibly imagine on the real estate side. We can do everything from refer you movers to give you a helping hand with our truck or our able bodies. Whatever it is, we are here to help. We also have an admin team that takes care of all the paperwork. We have attorneys that you can ask questions to figure out the financing. You can figure out all of the closing costs and things like that. Our main priority is to make sure that everything within the relocation process is as seamless and simple as possible, and you can actually enjoy it. It's a stressful process, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Sometimes it just straight up sucks, especially if you're trying to sell a house and buy a new one here. It's a pain in the butt process. That's why we're here to offload a lot of those responsibilities for you. We will do as much or as little for you as possible. There's certain things that we can't do. We can't sign your name on the dotted line. We can't do anything financially for you, right? There's certain things we can't do, but everything that is in our power, like scheduling home inspections, recommending, service providers, utility companies, contractors, painters, you name it, we have all of that in our bailiwick here. And one of our passions is to make sure that we pass all of those things along to you. So if you're looking at making this move, understand it's gonna be semi of a nightmare of a process, but our goal is to make it as fun and enjoyable for you as possible. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, if you got anything out of this video or any of my other videos on the channel, phone number and email address are popping up on the screen. Reach out if you're looking to make a move or you're just considering a move in the future. Once again, I'm Avery with the Legacy Group at eXp Realty, and my partner behind the camera is Anthony, and we would love to have a conversation, see how we can best help with your move to southeastern North Carolina. Till the next video, guys. Peace.